Trauma versus partner comfort debate. My best friend lost a parent a year and a half ago, which led him to a mental health crisis. Our friend group has been picking up the pieces ever since. He's doing much better now that he's in therapy, but he's definitely gone through it. What has complicated matters worse is my fiancée. It goes without saying that I love her, but she is the definition of a busybody sometimes. My best friend is a very private person. She knows something happened with him, but she doesn't know the details of what that something is. She probably never will. But because she's around me and my friends often as my fiancé and I live in the same house, she hears bits and pieces of the story and presses for more information. I try to circumvent this as best as I can. For example, I step out of the room for specific phone conversations. But still, it's hard to limit the discussion about it sometimes. If it's necessary, we bring it up, and she's around in person, we'll refer to the Nolan situation without giving specifics. Nolan will also stop by my place at night when he can't sleep. This doesn't happen all that often, maybe twice a month. He'll text me or call me saying he's outside. I'll go sit with him and maybe smoke a little bit, then he'll head home. I'll wait up until I know he got home safely, then I go back to sleep. My fiancée hates this. She claims the phone calls always wake her up. They don't. She just sometimes happen to wake up for the bathroom while I'm outside, and that me not being in bed is alarming. This brings us to last night. Nolan stopped by, and when I came back inside, my fiancée said she was putting a stop to it. She said all the sneaking around is making her paranoid. She doesn't feel like she can properly trust me or be a part of my friend group without knowing the details, and that Nolan needs to stop relying on me so much. I told her that no matter whether we're married, dating, whatever, she will never have any ownership over my friend's trauma, and that she was never going to be able to order me around in regards to it. I also said her comfort was less important than someone's actual physical well-being. She was obviously hurt by this and went to stay with her mom after work today. Edit. She knows Nolan lost a parent. She doesn't know the aftermath beyond the statement he had a mental health crisis. Yes, he has specifically asked me not to tell her. Edit 2, February 23rd, 2023, next day. This is not something we talk about constantly in front of her. I'm giving examples that have happened over the past year and a half. Also, Nolan sees a therapist. He comes to my place to hang out. Relevant comments. What exactly has she asked him? He had a very negative reaction towards her, asking for more information about how he was doing. Once when she did it directly to his face, and once when I told him she was asking again to gauge his comfort levels with what I told her. Like I said, he is intensely private and feels it is none of her business. He hates feeling pitied, and he hates the topic being brought up without him being the one to initiate it. There's only so many, "Oh, how are you doing since what happened?" questions one can get before it becomes tiresome. He says no one wants a real answer anyway. Is it possible she thinks he is a danger to himself or others, especially if she doesn't know what is happening? Maybe? He hasn't always been the kindest towards her, thanks to this situation and how she's responded to it, so she could possibly think he's a danger. She has never brought that up to me though, and it didn't come up in our conversation last night. He's never hostile, but I wouldn't say he was ever overly warm to people upon first meeting them. It's nothing personal. It's just his nature. Now he's slightly more guarded. Background on fiancé and Nolan. Background on fiancé and Nolan. I've known Nolan since we were 15. I've been with my fiancé around 2 years now. We've been engaged for a majority of those 2 years. For reference, we got engaged about a month before Nolan's dad passed. At the time, he and I were both pretty consistently busy. He also isn't one of those people who jumps into friendships quickly. So, they didn't see much of one another prior to what happened. And afterwards, they just weren't a good match personality-wise. It was a spur-of-the-moment engagement. No ring or anything until later. We currently have no plans to get married anytime soon. We have the means for a wedding. It's just not on our priority list right now. More information comes out. The POA, power of attorney, I have over him doesn't go into effect unless there are certain circumstances. His parent died suddenly, and it spooked him into getting his stuff in order. I have no tie to his finances right now and wouldn't want to. Yes, I've explained like I did here, that he was having a mental health crisis and needed support. I also helped him with some law stuff regarding he and I, a living will, me becoming a springing power of attorney, things like that he was desperate to get in order. But I didn't go into detail about that, other than Nolan needs my help with law stuff. That's about as much as she knows. Is the POA recent? It was not recent, no. It's been months since it happened. He is okay, but I understand your concern. It scared the shit out of me at the time he first asked, and we had extensive conversations about why. Update 1. I have had 3 conversations with my fiancé relating to this topic. The first didn't go well. I still had a lot of walls up that didn't allow me to engage properly. I didn't get angry, I just didn't say much at all. My fiancé told me what a lot had already assumed. She didn't feel like a priority, she was hurt by my comment and my actions. She gave me specifics on what needed to change if we were to continue. I told her I needed time, and she went back to the parents' house for the night. I took this night alone to truly think over the things she had requested, no more late-night visits and other harsh boundaries being put into place, and tried to imagine a life where that happened. The second conversation was much more impactful. I took feedback I was given here, which mainly centered around honesty and apologies. I told her that I was sorry for waking her up, and for not treating her how a fiancé should. I also told her I was sorry I hadn't been prioritizing her, but that I couldn't, at least not in the top number 1 spot. The gist of my side was this. My life partner, in a lot of ways, has already been chosen. It might change in the future, but as of right now, my friendship is the most important relationship in my life. He isn't just like family to me, he is family to me. That goes beyond just the 2 of us. His little brother is my little brother. My mom and dad have all but officially adopted them into our family and vice versa. Our lives are intrinsically enmeshed and have been since we were 15. I had been doing a disservice to her by pretending that I could put anyone else over this familial unit that has already been built. This conversation was difficult for us both. We cried together, we attempted to compromise, but the truth of it all boiled down to, if he needs me, or even just wants me, I'm going to do everything, reasonably, in my power to be there. We again took the night for ourselves to process. And that leads us to the final conversation, which was about our future. She told me she had known the end was coming and had begun to accept it long before our conversation. I agreed. We're also planning a Move Jess Out party between just us 2, where we try to have fun with it and reconnect as friends. She told me, in customary breakup fashion, that she's going to cut bangs in my bathroom at some point during this planned night. So, was I the asshole for saying that my friend's trauma was more important than her comfort? Yeah, I was. Not only because it was harsh, but because I didn't say it sooner so she could make an informed decision about whether it was a life she wanted or not. Now she gets that. I feel gracious and humbled by her forgiveness and understanding, and thankful to commenters who provided insight. ETA. No, I'm not planning any more romantic relationships for a while. 2. My number 1 priority is Nolan, not my entire family. He and I are the familial unit I referred to. Relevant comments. You have to make sure to tell your next partner they will never be number 1 in your life. Relationships are very much on the back burner for me right now, and for at least the next few years, I assume. After some soul-searching following this situation, I've come to realize that I just don't have that space in my life for a romantic partner the way some people do. I don't yearn for intimacy because I already have it. My emotional needs are already being met, and I feel fulfilled. If that changes, then I might pursue something. Until then, I'm all good here. Remember that romantic does not have to mean sexual. OP's response. This is very true. I'm pretty open to anything in both regards. Romance and sexuality are not rigid for me. Responding to those who tell him he needs to set boundaries with Nolan for both of their healths. I'm genuinely fascinated by this point of view. We do have other friends and boundaries with one another, 2 people choosing to share their lives together and not actively pursuing romantic relationships doesn't automatically lean towards something unhealthy, at least from my perspective. I think it's all just about how people want to live their lives and different priorities, but I seem to be in the minority here. There is only so much about my friendship with him I can include here, and this update post was largely centered around what happened with my ex-fiancé. Why would I list boundaries I have with my friend that are unrelated to this single conflict I posted about? In my eyes, He didn't sabotage anything. I chose my priorities, they were out of line with what was required for a romantic relationship, and I'm now out of that relationship. The value of said relationship is relative. I hope Jess and I remain close friends, but I feel relieved to be rid of extra pressures when I wanted to live my life one way and she wanted something else. I have a therapist and I wish to God that there was no A to character limit, so I could fit all my repeated comments into the original post. He does not trauma dump on me. We talk like normal people do. He sees a therapist regularly. I've known him since we were 15. We're 25 now. Dude, why get engaged in the first place? The engagement was a spur-of-the-moment event when I had been drinking. I wouldn't say it's something I regret, because I think both she and I knew it wasn't a marriage is right around the corner. Let's start planning now situation. I mostly just regret not having an honest conversation with her up front about the different places people took up in my life. That was a huge mistake on my end. Are you attracted to Nolan? Reflecting on how we first met, it was basically just me trying to manifest an excuse to talk to the cool tall boy I saw. And then I actually got that excuse and invited him over to my house during our first conversation. So, I certainly think he is nice to look at, and particularly nice to spend time with. I don't typically think that hard about my interactions with most men other than him. Going forward. I'm just letting things happen as they happen at this point. If he and I do move back in together though, I think I'm going to just start telling people we're together no matter what. If he's comfortable with it, of course. There's too many people who don't get that I do not want a romantic relationship in any shape or form going forward, outside of this. And if this whole thing has taught me anything, it's that I don't want to be stuck answering questions about it my entire life. LOL. Ex-fiancé. She's the one that suggested we remain friends. I came into things wanting to be completely honest. Other than that, the ball was in her court. If she wanted to forgive me, never see me again, whatever, that was purely up to her. Will it continue on past her moving out? I don't know. But I do know I'm very glad we're not ending on a totally sour note. One more thought from Oppie. As I said in other comments, I think I worded the original post wrong because people are assuming I put him on the same level as my parents or siblings, and that isn't the case. One more thought from As I said in other comments, I think I worded the original post wrong because people are assuming I put him on the same level as my parents or siblings, and that isn't the case. I honestly think people would have had a more positive reaction if I had said, "I've been with Nolan this whole time. Jokes on everyone." Then, "I made a mistake proposing to my fiancé. I'm now single, and can admit I feel emotionally fulfilled by this person. He is my life partner, and I choose to share my life with him while also having other friends, family as well, who don't fall into that category of intensity." Because half of the responses are, "That's so weird. You have to be having sex with the person you put number one in your life." He and I have spoken and are in agreement. He's asked me to come to one of his therapy sessions so we can further discuss, and I finally agreed, and we set a date to make that happen.